Well, hello everyone. We are back for episode numero cinco, that's number 5 to all my Norwegian friends, of GreenBean's Jets Pod. I'm actually really excited to be here today. I'm recording this on a Sunday evening. The playoffs are going in a way that I'm not happy with overall. And we just watched some football. There's more to be had later tonight. And I got to tell you, I don't like any NFL teams. That's what it boils down to. I don't like anyone. I really don't like anyone. My position on the NFL is this for this year. Usually, look, I hate the Patriots. Hate them to death. They lose Tom Brady. And why does it have to be our division that replaces them? Like, what is that? Like, yes, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They are the champions, and that's good. But within a minute of the Patriots ruling the roost, we got the Buffalo Bills beating the Ravens, my wife's team, I might add. Beating the Ravens, making them look silly, in my opinion. It was just, the Ravens looked like they had nothing for the Bills, from my perspective. Now, I didn't watch the entire game, but I watched most of it. And it just looked like the Ravens were outmatched to me. And I don't like it. I'm getting tired of the AFC East. It's always somebody from the AFC East. Why does it have to be like that? And then it's like how those years with the Giants and the Patriots, or the Seattle Seahawks throw a pass when they should have run Marshawn Lynch. It's like the NFL is almost designed to hurt my feelings. Don't you feel like that sometimes, Jets fans? So anyway, let's get started with the podcast, huh? Please do me a solid. Like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're watching it on YouTube. My YouTube channel is GreenBean Jetsfan. 2 words. 1 word is GreenBean, the second word is Jetsfan. I know it's 4 words, but I put them together to make 2 words, GreenBean Jetsfan. You can find me on Instagram at GreenBean the Jetsfan. You can find me on Twitter at Bean the Jets Fan. You can obviously find me on Jetnation.com, Jetnation's YouTube. And if you're listening to this podcast, wherever you get podcasts, because we were able to get it pretty much everywhere, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple, all the places, Podbean, all those types of places, please do me a favor and rate it. Like it, 5 stars, write a little something. GreenBean's beard makes me feel weird about my manhood. Whatever it is you want to say, I will be appreciative and grateful, because that stuff is important. Like I was talking about in a previous video, I didn't realize how important that was. I watched YouTube for years. I almost feel slightly guilty about it. I didn't realize how important it was for the content creators that I watched, that I liked. I mean, there's plenty of people, whether it be historic channels. I like this guy. His whole channel is he puts things in a press. Strong presses. There's like nothing that can, withstand these presses. Like this hydraulic press. He just squashes stuff. I'm telling you, I have watched that guy for hours. And I didn't like it, and I didn't subscribe to his channel until recently, until this year, because I didn't know. So it's really important for us content creators to be able to support what we're doing. There's very few ways to do it. And the main one on YouTube and all these other platforms is to like it, subscribe to it, and to write a little review if it's on the podcast platform. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. We're going to get right into this with the news of the day, of the week. Now, I went live within moments of hearing this news. I was just about to put my kids to bed, and I do this thing where I have a whole process with my children. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes every night. It's like read them stuff or whatever. And that night, I heard the news just before I was putting them to bed. I just said, hey, look, you know what the deal is with your father? We're doing this quick. I'm making it quick. We're doing it fast. I can't hang out in here. And they're both like, okay, Dad, we get it. My kids understand. So I went live right after that, and we talked about it all night long. But the New York Jets have chosen a head coach. His name is Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator from the San Francisco 49ers. Now, at this point, this is a few days later, we're all talked out about it for the most part. I don't want to show you videos of him going, yeah! I don't want to show you videos or talk about him running up steps before the games or anything like that. But what I do want to tell you is this. I love it. I really do. Now, obviously, there were guys in this search that I knew of, a little bit more than others. There were guys that I didn't know at all. There were guys that I hoped to bring in and we didn't. And when it's all happening, you don't really know, how to take it, how to absorb it. You have hopes, you have ideas, you have all these, the way that you hope it will go and all that sort of stuff. And you have conversations with others and you hear their opinions and all that. And I was looking back with hindsight, I am blown away by the process itself. The idea that Joe Douglas didn't bring in anyone from his circle, those guys that were linked up to him, outside of Marvin Lewis, which they haven't worked together since the year 2000. So it's 20 years ago. So it's not like they're enmeshed or anything. But that was the only guy he brought in from a past incarnation of him and his career, of himself, right? So linked guys were such as Greg Roman. That was my number 2 choice for head coach. And I thought that there would be a shoo-in because of their previous relationship. Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator of the Ravens. We had Doug Peterson, who was let go. I thought that he would at least get an interview. I was hearing rumors. Remember last week in the podcast, we heard the rumor that they might trade for Doug Peterson. I was not happy with that idea. So as we get to know all these guys, you start to like one more than the other, and you get to know guys a little bit more than maybe you did, and you learn things that either turn you away or bring you closer toward him. And Robert Saleh was one of those guys that, while I didn't know about him, I remember he came on my radar the Super Bowl year with the 49ers when they went to the Super Bowl a couple years back. And I liked him. I liked him then. Now, I didn't know if he was the guy for the head coach. He was probably out of the batch that did make it in. He was my number 2 behind Brian Daboll. All right. I liked the idea of Brian Daboll. I thought that he was progressing in such a degree that I thought it warranted taking the next step, getting the promotion to head coach, unlike some other guys who I thought it would be premature. And I can understand why people like certain guys. Some guys I struggled to understand a little bit more than others. But Daboll, it seemed like he was just that natural progression upwards. Started low, really worked, had some rough times, rough patches, getting fired, all those kinds of things. They build character and you learn through it. Coming into the league and doing great one year and getting a head coaching job, that stuff scares me, man. That it really does. So anyway, I did like Daboll, and Saleh was similar to me, and I liked him because of the idea that he's a leader of men. I know we're tossing that around. These terms, they just become part of the vernacular when these situations happen. It's like kick the tires. Every free agency season or, every draft we start saying, I'd at least kick the tires. It's like, it's a funny thing because 20 years ago, nobody said that stuff. But now it's part of our vernacular. We just all say it. And leader of men is very quickly becoming a part of our speak these days. So, but he's a leader of men. Everyone loves him, but that's not all he is. Like we talked about at times, Rex Ryan was also a leader of men. He was. People wanted to, quote, run through a wall for him. You remember? Have you ever heard that one before? That's another one that kind of absorbs itself into your language. You just find yourself saying it. You don't even know where it came from. I like guys who run through a wall. Like, really? But that's what happens because it just goes around enough when we start saying this shit. So, but they would run through a wall for Rex Ryan. But the problem with Rex was that there was bluster attached to it. There was cockiness. And there was a little bit of poking and assholishness. I don't fear that word becoming part of the vernacular anytime soon. Assholishness. But so that's the thing. And so once it goes sour a little bit, once you start to come off the top and you're still acting blustery and cocky, you look like a fool, man. It's not one of those things that you want your coach to be. You don't want to get caught when you feel like you're a caricature of yourself. You're a cartoon character that you've created, and you're a prisoner of your own words and your own actions and this own mystique that you've built up for yourself, and you really wouldn't act that way, but you got to keep being rah-rah. That's what Rex was. He was trapped. Saleh doesn't have that. He's equal with the leader of men thing. Gets people just as pumped. They all want to work hard for him. They respect him. All that stuff is there. But he doesn't have that cocky crap. As a matter of fact, he's the opposite. He's very humble. He's very confident. But even more so, I saw it in 2 or 3 different places, like wide spectrum of places. He's an intellectual. He's actually considered an intellectual, someone who studies the game, somebody who's very smart, was kind of like a businessman before this, all right? No one's going to confuse Rex Ryan for a businessman. They're not calling Rex Ryan an intellectual anytime soon. Now, he was a defensive mastermind. We'll give him that, right? He's a football man. But nobody's confusing him with an intellectual. So Saleh has that package going on. And that's why it's so exciting. It's not a one-trick pony guy. He's not a guy that the only thing he has to wave in front of you is that he got some quarterback to break a record one year. Like, that's it. Or look at Adam Gase. Adam Gase happened upon one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, and they had a record-breaking offense that year. Now, in his defense, that was one of the Peyton Manning's better years, too. So there are those who say he elevated Peyton Manning. But that's all he had. And the guys he worked for. He worked for Nick Saban. He worked for Mike Martz, and on and on and on. So he had that background. But he was a one-trick pony. So much so that he had to hire a head coach of the defense. What is that? A head coach of the defense. No, you're the head coach. You hire a defensive coordinator. There are reasons for this stuff, you know? It's like when someone says, hey, I'm going to open a restaurant that's chicken wings, but all chocolate chicken wings. Isn't that great? I really love chocolate chicken wings. Like, yeah, that might be great one time when you're all stoned or something like that. But there's a reason there's not chocolate covered chicken wing places all over the place. Because it's not what a chicken wing is. You know what I'm saying? And that might not be the greatest example, but there are reasons why things are done a certain way. Now, you can change. You can come out of the box, of course. But a head coach of the defense, for any reason other than you have no idea what to do on defense, is a better idea than what we saw. He didn't want to touch the defense because he couldn't touch the defense. He didn't have an offensive coordinator. He didn't have a quarterback coach because he didn't want anybody in the room challenging him because he's a one-trick, but it's the only thing he can do. He's not going to have somebody in the room that can do the same thing. Robert Saleh is not those things. He has a full spectrum. He played a tight end in college. He was an offensive position. His first job was offense. He's been linebacker coach. He's been quality control. He's been all those things. Been a defensive coordinator for 4 years. Right? So this is a guy that has more to him than one item. Even Brian Daboll, who I liked, really only has that offense piece. We don't know anything about him in any other capacity. We don't know him as a leader of men or anything like that. We have Josh Allen. That's what we have. Arthur Smith. So when the Jets let Brian Saleh go, they were with him for 2 days. And it's funny because I tweeted it out. Somebody said, why did the Jets let him leave? Why did he leave the building? And it's joking, and I'm not pretending to have inside sources on this level or anything. But one of the tweets I sent out was, well, Chris Johnson came into the fray, and then the deal died. They were in love with each other. Joe Douglas, Saleh, everybody was hugging and kissing and talking football, and it all made sense. Chris Johnson came in the room that morning, and 3 hours later, the deal was dead. Okay? And he left. Then he went and interviewed for Philly. We brought in Arthur Smith. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Arthur Smith, I'm not high on Arthur Smith. I'm so happy that the Jets didn't ultimately decide on him. And I'm not saying he won't be a good coach. I'm saying he's not the guy we need. That's what I'm saying. And when we let Saleh go and brought Arthur Smith in, I was just settling into this is the process. This is the process. They had a first round of interviews. They're having the guys they like in for interviews, second interviews, and we'll go from here. Now, look, I don't know if you know this about me. I was an executive director for numerous years. I've interviewed no less than 500 people. I'm telling you, 500 over my 15-year career. I know exactly how interview processes go. Okay, from putting an ad out to looking at resumes to setting up interviews to having your first round to having your second round, then contract negotiations, all that stuff. I know how it goes, right? So, but my emotions start to kick in with the Jets. I'm like, oh, these guys, they're gonna blow it. They're gonna blow it. So I just resided in this calm. They're just going through the process, but in my head, I knew. And reports have come out. I was right. And I wasn't the only one right. There was a few of us out there talking. Chris Johnson didn't want to give Saleh the money he wanted. That's what killed the deal. It's funny, right? So Joe Douglas is being allowed to pick his coach. He is. But the Johnsons are still signing the check. And that's what we were talking about 2 weeks ago when they fired Adam Gase and they talked about the hierarchical structure and that Joe Douglas his opinion was going to be most considered and all those kinds of things. What did we say? We said that just means the Johnson's piece in all this is they have to okay the cashola. That's it. And I don't even know what Saleh's numbers are yet. I don't. At this time, I didn't even look. I didn't find that out. I don't know if it's out there yet or not, but I don't currently know them. But the report is out that they didn't want to give him the money that he wanted. So we brought in Arthur Smith. And what probably happened was they heard the difference between Saleh and Smith. And they were like, oh, shit, man. We're losing the guy. And then he was able to guarantee Mike LaFleur, and Chris Johnson signed off on it. Isn't that funny? Like, you want Saleh, you're not willing to pay him, but he can bring Mike LaFleur. Oh, now I'll pay you. I think what happened that had nothing to do with any Mike LaFleur. That was the reason given. Chris Johnson met with Arthur Smith for the personal, and they were like, this guy's dry as a bone. He's never going to make it here. Dry as a bone, baby. And that is no disrespect to Arthur Smith, okay? Anybody who came in for interviews this round were talented, okay? But the Jets are a different animal than the Jacksonville Jaguars, than the Atlanta Falcons, and the Detroit Lions, the Tennessee Texans, whatever the hell you are, Houston Texans. We're a different beast, and we need a different character. So that's what happened with that. Mike LaFleur is our offensive coordinator. It says so on his Wikipedia. I looked. It's there. He's the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets. Now, I'll just touch on this briefly, and then we're going to move on to another little part of this podcast here. Mike LaFleur has been with Kyle Shanahan. You'd think I'd remember that name. With Kyle Shanahan, his last 3 stops. Kyle Shanahan has brought Mike LaFleur with him everywhere he's gone since Cleveland, okay? So he's the one who plucked him from college into the NFL, Kyle Shanahan, that is. He was in Cleveland. He brought him to Cleveland, brought him to Atlanta, brought him to the Niners, okay? So Mike LaFleur has been with Kyle Shanahan for the last number of years. He's the guy who's been with him the longest, if I remember correctly, IIRC. And even if there's somebody that's a little bit more, it doesn't remove what I'm trying to say. The point is, if you want the Kyle Shanahan offense, this is probably the guy that you want to bring along. Now, I liked Mike Kafka. I did, from Kansas City Chiefs. I liked him a lot, too. I also liked the running game coordinator, McDaniels, from the San Francisco 49ers. But this is probably the guy. This is the guy you wanted as the offensive coordinator if you want the Kyle Shanahan experience. That's a good thing, guys. He's been with him for the last 6 years. underneath Kyle Shanahan, learning from Kyle Shanahan. So that's an incredible positive. When coming from Gase, who's so far up his own ass that he can't even listen to anyone else about anything, wouldn't even bring another offensive mind into the room. Okay? No coordinator, no quarterback coach. Sure, he had Jim Bob Cooter. Jim Bob Cooter was hanging out with the running backs, and he stuck them there, and that's it. When's the last sentence you heard from Jim Bob Cooter? Nothing. Nothing. So he wasn't in that. He wasn't at that level. He was just coaching the running backs. That's that. So we have Mike LaFleur bringing the Kyle Shanahan offense over here. He's been with Kyle Shanahan for years. He knows the offense, and he's bringing it over here. These are good times. The other hiring that was announced a couple days ago is Miles Austin, the wide receiver from the Dallas Cowboys. Has been coaching for a few years. Started as an assistant. Actually started as a scout. Started and then was an offensive assistant and all that jazz. And he's been a wide receivers coach for a few years now. So, hey, I don't know. I don't know anything about Miles Austin as a coach. I know I liked him as a player. You know what he is? He's an undrafted free agent that worked his ass off and came up and made it to 2 Pro Bowls. That's what he is. He's what Robbie Anderson hopes to be. Okay? So that's a guy that knows from the bottom up, man. From the bottom up. Knows what these guys coming in are thinking and feeling and all that. And I like that, man. That's why I like Jefferson as a wide receivers coach. I like positional coaches like Andre Carter for the defense. I liked him. I like those guys, positional coaches. If they can rise from there and become more, that's great. But I do love positional coaches to have played the position. I love it. They don't have to be that, but I do love it. I do. So that's good. I think it's a good hire. We're going to bring up none other than Desean Watson, man. Deshaun Watson, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the entire NFL. Hate his guts, but love him to death. I don't love him because he's not on the Jets, and that's how I roll, as you know. But he is talented. Honestly, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the entire league. And I think it's just one of those things like when, if you were talking about a quarterback to draft in 2017, he was the guy. Mahomes had more questions and Trubisky was Trubisky, but man, Watson was the guy, dude. And I love him to death. I think he's one of those guys that can will the game. He can just will his team to win if he needs to. And he tried this year, 70% completion percentage and all that stuff. So anyway, the Jets are rumored to be considering a trade for Deshaun Watson. Now, in a humorous manner, I'm going to bring it up one last time. A few weeks ago on Ryan's Jets Talk 24/7, Talking Jets panel on Tuesday nights with Matt O'Leary and Ryan, I brought this up and I got lambasted, okay? I got killed, crushed, laughed at, poked, prodded, made fun of, mudslung. It was a terrible night, and if I'm being honest now, I didn't say it then, but I was embarrassed, and I felt sad and scared. I was afraid that nobody liked me, and that I was being dumb, and that my hair was ugly, and everything. My wife was going to divorce me. All that stuff happened because of this situation. So I said that it's possible that the Texans may consider trading Deshaun Watson because of their situation. They have no first-round pick, no second-round pick. They're just about $20 million over the cap. Over the cap. So they can't do anything in free agency. What are they going to do is assign the draft picks they can bring in, right? They need at least $10 million for that. So you have to lose $27 million. That's $30 million where I come from. It. So you're $30 million over the cap just to have a draft class, okay? It's nuts. So they're $30 million over the cap. They have no first and second round pick. So you can't do that. You can't do free agency. And your quarterback is disgruntled because he's trying to bring it. He's telling you he'd like to work for certain coaches, and you're not even bringing him in for interviews. So this is what was going on. And I'm telling you, they're considering trading this guy. I just know it. Okay? Now, the compensation I said, well, you know their situation, what their situation is. And you can probably get Deshaun Watson for cheaper this year than you could ever before or after this year. This is the year to strike. This is the moment. And I said some stupid shit like you can get him for a second and Sam Darnold or something like that. Now that's going to be a little light. Like I said that day, I'm just talking, right? But now it's becoming real. So these are the things that are coming out this week. Now, it only took 48 hours for me to be legitimized, and my wife didn't leave me, and all these kinds of things happen. So it was pretty nice, and I felt good, and I felt good looking and happy and tall. You know what I mean? Funny. And I felt like I had a host of friends just when that happened, when that news came out. So the Texans, it turns out, are willing to trade him. And Desean Watson, see, he has a no trade clause. Sorry, so let me give you this whole breakdown. Now, here's my conspiracy theory, okay? Now, it's not like QAnon conspiracy theory. It's just that conspiracy means two or more people talking about some shit, trying to get something done. So that's what it is. But this is what's really going on. And this is the connectedness that GreenBean's brain is to the universal streams of information, okay? This is what I have. Here's what's going on. The Texans, they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins last year, right? They traded 2 firsts and a second for Laramie Tunsil. And they let Bill O'Brien take the fall for the D-Hop trade because clearly it was a boneheaded trade and it didn't look good after the fact. So they let him take the fall. They fired him a month later and the whole thing. So really what's going on is this. Unwisely, now I'm not saying this is right, but this is what they're doing. They want to start over. They want to clean this thing. They want to start over. They don't like the direction that it's going. They don't like the team the way it was, and they want to start over. Okay, this Easterly guy, or Easterby, okay? They hired their GM when Desean Watson was away or something like that. They just popped this guy in from the Patriots, no less, and they bring him in. Now, Patriots guys are notorious for being like, whoosh. They're just like, my way or the highway. Like, that's how they are for the most part, all right? Even though O'Brien was a Patriots guy. So they get rid of O'Brien, they replace him with a Patriots guy, and they're looking at the future of this team. They have no first-round picks, they have no money, and they got this quarterback. He has a no-trade clause in his contract. He's the only chip, and J.J. Watt, but J.J. Watt is older, and he doesn't have quite the value of Deshaun Watson. So they're doing things right now for Deshaun Watson to negate or do what he can to agree to the trade, to eradicate, to waive the no trade clause so they can get rid of him. If they just try to trade him, it's like $75 million on the cap. It's asinine. It's insane. It's crazy. Okay? So they need him to be disgruntled. They need it. If they're going to clean this, because this way, no picks, no money, and a quarterback, it's going to take a very long time, and it's going to be dragging your feet through sludge to try to get this team out of the hole that they built. It's really a shame because 2 years ago they were division champs, right? So stupid. This is how these money guys, man, this is how dumb it is. You don't let money guys touch your team. There's a salary cap. You establish the budget and get the fuck out of here. That's the way it should be. Get out. Let me run the football team. Get out. I'll make you billions of dollars. Just leave. That's the way it should be. These guys are squeezing. We can squeeze 0.6% out of this lemon. That's how they see it. So they want to start over because they made some big mistakes. They let Bill O'Brien take the fall when it wasn't all his fault. It wasn't. Okay? This was a team group operation. He didn't just go out and say, screw you, I'm trading D-Hop, I don't care. They're like, no, that's not the way it went. They traded him. They destroyed the team, essentially. They tore it down, gave away all the picks, all this crazy stuff. They have a quarterback. They need to get rid of him in order to start over. They need to. But they can't because there's a no-trade clause. They need DeAndre Hopkins to be disgruntled enough to work with them on removing the no-trade clause. And believe me, I don't know to what degree that can happen or not, but that's going to have to be factored into any team that's going to trade for him. And then from there, once that happens, then they can recoup some picks, lose the $152 million. What is his contract the next 4 years? It's not that bad. But it's bad if you don't have any damn money, I'll tell you that. Right? So in 2021, his contract is a song. It's $11 million. Then it's 22 is 35, then 37, then 32, then 32. It's not bad for a top 5 quarterback. I'm going to tell you right now. But they don't have any money. So if they can get that $32 million back per year when they can't build around them and start from scratch and build a young team up, they're going to do that. I don't even think they should. I'm not advocating for this, but I'm telling you what's happening, okay? This is what's happening. Now, last little bean for the beanbag is this. Should the Jets trade for him? Now, I've seen some crazy-ass shit getting thrown around. Daniel Jeremiah said the Jets should give one of their first-round picks this year, one of their first-round picks next year, and a first-round pick the year following. That's 3 first-round picks and Sam Darnold. So let me just tell you this right now. I know people are like, yeah, but you do whatever you can for a top 5. I get it all. You don't make that move, okay? There's no way you make that move. Now, if they did, it is what it is. But I'm just saying, you don't have to make that move. You keep your number 2 pick. You give him this year's first. You can give him Seattle's first. You can give him next year's Seattle's first. You can give him this year's first, Sam in 2/3. Like a first, you can give him Seattle's first, Seattle's third, next year's third, and Sam Darnold. You can give him that kind of a package for him. Because you're taking on the contract. They're in the hole. They're not trading with Miami again. They got their ass kicked in that trade with Miami. They're pissed. You think they're going to go back to Miami? The whole time they're going to be like, how are they taking advantage of us again? Miami put them in this hole. They're not doing it. I would be blown away if they did it, okay? Blown away. Now, that's not to say somebody else won't do it, but nobody else has money and capital like the Jets have. We're one of a handful of teams that can trade for this guy, okay? We're one of a few. You tell them, look, we're going to give you a good deal for this, but we're the ones taking on a $152 million contract. We're the ones, you got to get out of this no trade clause thing first. You got to figure all that out. We'll give you Sam Darnold, a potential starting quarterback. We'll give you 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick. That's it. The reason you keep number 2, the second overall pick, is because as soon as that happens, you start trading down and you recoup all of it, which essentially gives you Desean Watson for free. And you dump Sam Darnold, who is going to be $11 million on the cap this year or whatever it is. And then you have the $25 million question for his 5th-year option. And you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about that anymore. So that saves $10, $11 million. So you'd be willing to give them a lot. But you don't give them 3 firsts and Sam Darnold. No way. You're going to get a second for Sam. So that's 3 firsts and a second? Dude, what are we talking about here? Nobody's worth that. Nobody, especially when Justin Fields and Wilson are sitting there for 1 first-round pick. You tell them, go screw. Not doing that. Nobody else is as high. Now, if you're going to talk to about getting our number 2 pick, our second overall pick, that's fine too. You can do that too. I'll give you my second overall pick, Sam Darnold, and a third-round pick. That's what you do. They say no, let them leave. Let them leave. You have a good offensive coordinator. You have some weapons. You retool. You pick one of these kids and you build around them. Just the way we were gonna before Desean Watson, the dangling piece of candy, came into your life. Okay? 2 weeks ago, everybody thought I was nuts for talking about this. Now we're going to give away 3 firsts and Sam Darnold? You don't go from, no, we're not doing anything, to I'll do everything. You don't do that. I'd be willing to say, hey, the Jamal Adams trade, basically I traded Jamal Adams for Deshaun Watson. Fine. Great. Who wouldn't do that trade? Jamal Adams for Deshaun Watson straight up. You can have them both. But I don't even think you need to do that when you're adding Sam to the mix. I'm just saying. You don't need to do that. 3 firsts and Sam Darnold? These people are nuts. I don't even know how anybody has jobs in the NFL if this is the shit that you're talking about. Now, the tactic that I could see happening, Daniel Jeremiah is good with Joe Douglas. They're buddies. They got some talk. Just send this stuff out there so you give Houston a negotiating point to start with so we can start having the conversation, get them excited, and then I'll take care of it from there. Fine. But Jets fans need to take it down a smidge. 3 firsts and a second? No. Keep them. Keep your problem. Sit in the malaise that is the abyss that is your contract situation and your drafting situation. Go ahead, sit in it. You want to trade with Miami? Go ahead, trade with Miami. Let them give away everything they own for one guy. It's not worth it. And we'll take Wilson or Justin Fields and we'll build around him. We got a legit offensive coordinator and we'll punch you square in your face with the other guy. Dude, you never sell the farm for one guy. Never. Did you see what Deshaun Watson's record was this year? Were they in the playoffs? No, because one guy doesn't do it. Now, that guy be pretty good with Denzel Mims and Crowder and the new guy and, Devontae Smith or Seth Williams or whatever it is that we bring. Pat Freiermuth. It'd be good. I want Deshaun Watson. I do. That is how I see the Deshaun Watson situation. But I will tell you this. It's fun to think about. It's fun to play with. I'm happy we got a legitimate GM and a staff that is going to at least entertain this. I got a question from R. Thompson on YouTube this week. And he said, Bean, is there any validity to the Deshaun Watson trade rumor? Yes, there is validity to it. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, R. Thompson, but it does mean that our staff is top-notch. Look at the coach they just brought in. Look at the offensive coordinator they just brought in. They got the deal done with their number one guy, okay? He didn't nepotize this thing. He didn't bring in his friends. He didn't bring in his cousin. Although Saleh was the best man in Mike LaFleur's wedding, so whatever that is, we'll talk about that another day. Okay, if he's the best man for the job or if Saleh just owes him a solid or something like that, I don't know. But we'll talk about that another time. But he didn't just do that. He did things the right way. He did it slow, methodical, patient, got a wide spectrum of coaches, a head coach, position coach, coordinators, defense, offense, young, older. He did it all. And we got our number one guy. Trust in this process. Deshaun Watson just might be a Jet, but you're not going to have to go, oh, it sucks we gave up every draft pick that we have the next 3 years. Like, fuck that. Ain't happening. Because he doesn't suck. Now, it'll be funny if he does do it. And I'll be talking, I'll be spinning it for you. I'll spin it the right way. But my thoughts right now are you don't have to. And good GMs won't. And if that's what they want, we want 3 number 1 picks and Sam Darnold. Goodbye. How about this? Let's get creative. I'll give you Henry Anderson, Sam Darnold, LaMichael Pirine. You know what I mean? Whatever. Give you cheap contract guys that can fill some spots. I'll give you a first-round draft pick, a couple thirds, starting quarterback. We'll work it. And I'll owe you a solid. I'll owe you one. Just like the Pittsburgh Steelers owe Joe Douglas one. Just like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers owe us one. Right? Hey. No. It's a pizza pie over there. You like that? You see where I'm from. It's funny. When my wife first met me, we said, hey, let's order some pies. She's from Baltimore, right? So we said, let's order a few pies. And she was like, who's going to deliver pies? We're like, everybody delivers pies. We'll get it. What do you want on it? And she's like, I don't know. Apple? Not everybody talks like that. It's a pizza pie. And the dog he had his nose inside the box. That's what he's doing. So anyway, that's what we have. We have Robert Saleh. We got Mike LaFleur. We got Miles Austin. Who's our defensive coordinator going to be? I think it's going to be Chris Richard. My heartstrings are getting pulled by Aaron Glenn. I would love it. Love it. Jim Leonard even. I would love it. if a former Jet came over here and ran our defense. I would love it. But my intellect says it's going to be Chris Richard. The guy earned it, man. The guy's ready. He's next up. That's the way I see it. Next man up. And he's earned it. He was being considered for head coaching gigs the last 2 cycles. The last year he got an interview, and the year before he got 2 interviews or so. So he's next up. Give him his defensive coordinator job. Saleh and Chris Richard together. These are powerful men. Powerful, motivating men. Everybody in the NFL is going to want to come here. And that's what we needed. We need to get away from the Jets tax. Joe Douglas put an end to that. We're not paying the Jets tax anymore. Why? Because he said, I'm not doing it. That's why. You don't want to come here. If you want me to pay you $5 million more than anybody else is going to pay you, pound salt, man. Beat it. And that's what happened. Mike McCagnon would pay it. Idzig would pay it. Tannenbaum would pay it. Joe Douglas is not paying it. But then what he did on top of that, saying, because I'm not paying it, that's why, he added Robert Saleh to get you to want to come here. Add Chris Richard to that bit. Add him. See what happens. We already got Mike LaFleur. Everybody's thinking, wow, that's Kyle Shanahan's offense. People thrive in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Right? It's a quarterback-friendly offense. It's designed for the run to open up the pass. We'll do a whole video on that, okay? So anyway, I'm happy you were here. I'm psyched. We had a good week. Gase is gone. Saleh's in. Got good coaches. We got good free agents coming. I'm telling you, it's going to be fun. But on the docket for today is Desean Watson. Let's see what we do. I'd love to know what you think. Were you willing to give up 3 first-round picks and a Sam Darnold for him? Are you willing to give more? Is that a deal? Or are you feeling like, you know what? Let's work this. Let's be smart here. What are you thinking? Not that that's not smart. You know what I'm saying. Hopefully. But know this, if you comment to my videos, I respond 100% of the time. If I don't, it just means I missed it somehow, which is obviously possible, but I really try not to do that. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, please, on GreenBean's Jetsfan, on Jetnation.com, on my Instagram, on my Twitter. And don't forget, you can follow my national coaster tour. That's what I'm doing out here anyway. I'm out here riding every roller coaster in the country. I'm just putting together my Busch Gardens Tampa stuff right now. You can follow that at Full-Time Coaster Tour. Full-Time Coaster Tour. 2 words, just like GreenBean's Jetsfan. Get on in there. Let me know what you think of that. Again, if you comment, you will talk to me. I love hearing from you guys. Let me know what you think of the Deshaun Watson trade. Let me know what you think of our head coaching hire. Do you like Miles Austin? Do you not like him? Which defensive coordinator are you hoping we bring in? And this was another episode of GreenBean's Jets Pod. And I even added and sprinkled in the beanbag. Let me know what you think of that. We'll get there, guys. We'll get there. All that being said, love Joe Douglas. Love you. Love Jet Nation. Go Jets.